So yes, it is. We did an announcement 2 weeks ago around the availability or the public preview availability of the Microsoft Graph Toolkit chat components. And today I wanted to come and chat about it, show you what these are. I came here a couple of months ago to talk about the roadmap and what might actually land in the Graph Toolkit in the future, and now we're ready. Right now we have the bits and pieces that are there, so I'm so excited to finally introduce the public preview of the Microsoft Graph Toolkit chat components. My name is Sébastien. I'm a senior PM on the Microsoft Graph Developer Experience team. I own so many things, but today I want to talk about the Microsoft Graph Toolkit and the partnership that we have with a bunch of other teams that enabled us to build a great chat experience within the Microsoft Graph Toolkit. What are we going to cover today? First, we're going to talk about what's the Graph Toolkit. I want to do a very quick recap on what the Graph Toolkit provides. We're going to introduce the chat components. We're going to do a bunch of demo. We're going to see code. We're going to see live code running with everything that can happen, meaning broken things, non-broken things. Who knows? We're going to discover that all together. I'll also discuss a little bit the roadmap we have on the chat components, and I'll be happy to take questions at the end if we have time. And usually I'm good to fill all the time that is available. So we'll see. I'll definitely come back to the chat afterwards. So first, what is the Microsoft Graph Toolkit? The toolkit is a collection of reusable framework agnostic components and auth providers that allows you to access and work with the Microsoft Graph. Think about them as drag and drop components you can put into any apps. And Dan today showed us how easy first it was, but also how it integrates in any type of framework. Usually you would expect us to ship React components, but the Graph Toolkit is a lot more than just React. It's React plus all the other frameworks that are on the web that allows you to use the web component standards. The components are fully functional, so there's no code. You drag the component in your app, you add the markup you need, and you don't need to really write any code. They are already functional. You configure them, and they're ready to go. They're customizable, though, so it means that you can change their behavior. You can adjust the way that they will do some of the calls to Microsoft Graph to really fulfill the needs of your applications. And they work with any web framework on basically all modern browsers today. Why would you care? First, it cuts on the dev time, right? It's easy to add UI components that automatically access Microsoft Graph with just a few lines of code. They're beautiful, but they're flexible. The look and feel that we provide out of the box is very similar to what you would expect from Microsoft 365 using Fluent and all the design principles we have here at Microsoft. But if you really want to bring them and make them your own, absolutely fine. You can rebuild or templatize or reformat or stylize any of the components that we have in the toolkit. And finally, it just works everywhere. You want to work it on the web? Good. You want to work it on mobile? Good. You want to work it in an Electron app that lives on the desktop? Good. Anything that is inherently web will absolutely work for you. So today we're really here to chat about the chat components. Hey, the main principle we had that drove us to build something for chat components was to really enable developers to embed Teams conversations and avoid context switching from one app to emails to Teams messages, back to the app, back to Teams, send a link, and all these kind of things. We really wanted to have an easy way for people to bring the chat components and make them part natively of the apps that they are building to really keep the context when you're talking with somebody. So that's what we did. And I'm going to walk you through some of these features, but here's I think a really cool video that kind of shows up right here where you can see I can write a message, somebody can write a message in Microsoft Teams, automatically my interface automatically gets updated on the other side. So it's all instant, it's all web. You don't have anything to do. It's all connected. It has all the capabilities you would expect from Microsoft Teams, like roster management, naming groups, and so on and so forth. So we are supporting a set of capabilities, a set of different scenarios, and that's what I want to walk you through today. What are the scenarios that we really think that are the most important? I'd love to hear your scenarios, so feel free to pitch them in the chat. What are the type of scenarios you would want to build for in your own application? So put them in the chat. I'll be happy to see them afterwards. So first, we announced our public preview on November 14th. That was just the day before Microsoft Ignite 2 weeks ago. And here are the kind of the key components that we support. First, we enable creating one-on-one and group chats. Right now, we do not support channel conversations for a multitude of reasons, but we're really focused on one-to-one and group chat scenarios. We give you the ability to manage the conversation roster. So it means that, for example, you will be able to add new people, leave a conversation. You will be able to remove someone from the conversation, the same way you would do that in Teams, which allows to start with a small group of people. Think maybe about like a service desk scenario where you might start with only the person that created a ticket, but then you want to expand it to more subject matter experts. You can add them to the conversations and reach them wherever they are. If they're in your app, it could maybe pop up inside the app. If they're in Teams, you're going to be able to reach out to them directly via Microsoft Teams. Name, reading the conversation, all the management around the conversation is basically built in. See other participants' availability. You have the ability to send messages, receive instant messages, including rich content. That means formatted content, images, emojis. We have support for adaptive cards. Also, you will be able to see mention. So when somebody is mentioned, you will be able to see it directly inside the chat components. And we provide, and that is an interesting caveat that I need to do, we provide 2 React components for that. One, it's our MGT chat and our MGT new chat. Seb, you just said 2 minutes ago that the Graph Toolkit was a set of web components. Well, yes, they are. We are starting our journey with the Microsoft Graph chat components as React components for a multitude of reasons, from an architecture standpoint, but also from a market standpoint. The customers we've been working with are mainly using React, so we wanted to really approach it from a getting started standpoint, but we still have in mind to bring them to web components, so these can be embedded in any type of application. So how is that built? There's a ton of things, but we are basically a partnership here. We are in a partnership with tons and tons and tons of teams that have been working with us over here. So what does it mean? It means that we have been working with the toolkit. The toolkit is what provides the authentication, the connectivity to the graph, and the overall user experience to deliver what we love to call the outside-in messaging scenarios. We're also partnering up with the Azure Communication Services Web UI library, which was also demoed earlier in this series by Dan, which provides the chat UI controls and all the components for a seamless look and feel. So all the canvas for rendering chat threads is all powered by the Azure Communication Services Web UI library. We also work with the change notification teams as part of the Microsoft Graph organization. It's providing the live interactivity between teams and our component. That's what delivers the instant messages directly to our component. We don't have to pull and wait for messages. They just basically magically come to us. And finally, we work really closely with the Microsoft Graph APIs for all chat operations with the Teams team to provide all of the right endpoints to deliver these scenarios. There were a ton of endpoints that were not either developer friendly or not even existing back in the days to deliver such components, and now they're all available out there. So how do you get started? How do you bring this inside your app? So let's take the assumption you already have a React app. The only thing you're going to have to do is to bring in basically a bunch of packages from us. The first package will be our MGT React set of components, which is our wrapper on top of our web components. Second thing is you're going to have to bring the MGT chat components. These chat components will deliver the chat specific capabilities. They are a separate package that we have everywhere else because we really want to leave the dependencies in the chat. If you don't want the chat, we don't want to pollute or to add useless dependencies in the MGT React package. You're going to need our MGT element, which is our foundation of MGT. And finally, you're going to need a provider, something that provides authentication. In this case, might be the MSAL2 provider, which is our most popular provider. But if you want to bring that in SPFX, for example, you could use our SharePoint provider. Or if you want to bring that in Electron, you can bring our MGT Electron provider or any other type of provider that we have. And then it's a matter of just a couple of lines of code. So what are these lines of code? Very simply, you're going to have to instrument your app in a very simple index.tsx, and we're going to come back to that code. So I'm going to dive into it, but I think it's good to see what this means. So first, you're going to have to register a provider with a client ID, a set of scopes, and we also provide all the chat scopes as a super useful wrapper here, so you don't have to know every single scope that Graph needs. So you can ask them all in advance, and you won't be prompted as users are going through the app. And finally, we have two components. One here, one which is the new chat on the right side here. The new chat that allows developers to add a new chat component where you can create a chat, either a one-on-one or a group chat, name the chat, have an initial message as part of it. And finally, a simple chat component that takes a single parameter, which is what is the chat ID that I care about. So what about we go in, we do a little bit of a demo, and that demo will really be helpful for you to understand how these things are working. So let me close the slides. Let me go straight to the demo. So I'm here. Quick look. The blog post has a ton of really useful info on how to get started with the chat components within the Graph Toolkit. I invite you to go and have a look at it. If you want to get started, I think your best bet today will be to go through our Getting Started guide on React. So you can go to our documentation, aka.ms/mgt/docs, where you will be able to find that build a web app with React, because right now it's only React, so we wanted to make sure it was clear enough. And you can actually create an app with chat. You can follow this guide, and that's what we're going to do today. You can follow this guide to go through the entirety of these things. You want to learn more, want to go deeper in here, but you can go to our components and look into what the new chat preview and the chat preview. The new chat is our new chat component, so it's creating a chat, and the chat component is rendering a specific chat instance. So all the documentation is here. You will be able to see all of the usefulness, all the different properties that are available, and so on and so forth. The events, the templates, and so on and so forth. Same thing for the chat component, where you will be able to see all the capabilities, all the different properties, those are probably some of the easiest components we've ever built on a toolkit, because they're really, really, really on Rails to really help you focus on one thing, which is bringing chat, not necessarily customizing it like all the way, but just provide us a chat ID and we'll be more than happy. So really happy about this, how it turns out. So let me show you a quick example of what this could look like. So let me go here. Let me go to this group right here, where I have on the left, I have Microsoft Teams logged in as Megan. And on the right, I have myself, Sébastien, as a user on the same tenant. Right now, the only thing I can see is a new chat. And at some point, I'm going to see the actual chat thread. Let's go see the code on what we're going to actually build here. So in here, so the same code we saw earlier, I'm going to skip on the index.tsx. It's not really where the things that's happening. It's really on the app.tsx that the real value is happening. Let's look at this part here. That's really where all the magic happens. First, we're just going to render that capability when you're signed in. I have my login component right here. I'm already logged in. If I was not, I would just need to provide username and password through the MSAL flow. I would be logged in, and that's what shows up right here on top. That's my login component showing that I'm logged in as Sébastien. I have this nice component right here that I can embed on any type of app. Then afterwards, if I'm signed in, I'm going to render this fragment here. This fragment has two components. One, which is a new chat button. When I'm going to click on the new chat button, it's just going to show, it's going to basically enable or display our new chat component. That new chat component will allow me to create a chat directly from the surface. And once this is done, we're going to save the chat that it just got created here. I'm going to set the chat ID based on the chat ID that is coming back from the chat created. And I'm going to render the chat instead of the new chat component. So that's it. I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to create a chat. And once it's available, I'll be able to have the chat ID rendered directly in my chat surface. So let's go on and let's see that. I'm going to create a new chat. I want Megan to be part of it so the demo works. That way, Megan receives messages. So I'm going to start with Megan. I'm going to add Megan. I'm going to add Adele also, and maybe I'm going to add Alex. And I'm going to call it community call amazing people. And I'm going to add here a first message. This is for the community call. And here we're going to just hit send. What's going to happen is it's going to create the new chat. It's going to, so in Teams, it's going to call Graph. It's going to create the new chat. It's going to do all the configuration we need. And then afterwards, when it's available, we're going to change the rendering. We're going to swap from that new chat components to an actual chat surface right here. So I'm going to hit send. It's creating the chat. Now, oh, look at that. In Teams, I just got a notification. This is amazing. So let me go to Teams. I'm going to see here that I just got my message here. I have the first message that was entered as part of the initialization of that chat. And I can now say, hey, Sébastien, thanks for inviting. Yeah. And then you're going to see that this is all live. Like there's no refresh, there's no polling. It's all happening interactively between both applications. And then I can go back here and add another message and say, hey, Megan, and go on and so on and so forth. Couple things that are actually really cool. I can do this. I can do @Sébastien, please help me. And these interactions will actually follow. So I will be able to have the same experience that we have. So really drawing attention for the right folks. I will be able, for example, to say, let's say happy Tuesday, and send rich text from one side to the next. So all of these are automatically being rendered. I could go on and do a very complex formatting over there. It would also work, and so on and so forth. So that is a great scenario. Something that we wanted to make sure that we can do is to elevate this call to other people, to bring other people in the conversation. That's why we have all that roster management here. So for example, I can add somebody. I can maybe add Lee. I want to include all the chat history. I can add him. I'm going to get the system message where Seb added Ligu, and I can say, hey, Lee, welcome to this chat. And now Lee will be able to see that chat now that he has been added to the conversation. And that is really key here. We really want to make sure we have a great experience right there. Maybe we don't want Adele to actually be part of it. Now I can, yes, remove Adele from the conversation. And now Adele was just removed from the conversation. So it's really the way that we are thinking about that component, that you can bring it into your app and have it really along your productivity applications that you're building. Maybe you're thinking about scenarios like service tickets, maybe subject matter experts on specific areas of an internal portal. There are so many scenarios that we have been building it for, and we're really looking forward to see how you guys are building your applications leveraging these capabilities. So let me go back quickly to the slides and see what's next. So what's next? I think what we really have today is already pretty useful. It's quite powerful what we have today, but we're thinking even further than just what we have today. So for example, the first thing that we're currently working on is to enable sending mentions. Not just being able to see the mentions, but also to send mentions from the component. So that is something that is happening. The second thing that is happening is to allow sending adaptive cards as the initial message of a new conversation. Why? Because we really feel, take a scenario where maybe you are building something like ServiceNow, service ticket, or any type of support mechanism. Maybe you want to be able to send a card that represents the context of what you're talking about. You want to have a card that brings you back to the application, to the person you're talking with that lives in Teams. What is this person talking about? Oh, this specific request that I had last week. Now I can go on and click open record, and I go back to ServiceNow to continue to see the status, or so on and so forth. And we really, really think that this is a really, really strong scenario for anybody that wants to build these. Right now, you've seen it from the UI. So the way that you can create a conversation, you can do it fully from code. So you don't need to provide the new chat UI. You can do it entirely from code. So maybe there's like start a conversation, you call into our components, you create the chat from there, you send a first adaptive card as part of it, and then you render the chat component. Also, we want to build full theming support. Right now, we only support light mode in web. So in Fluent would be called the web light mode. We're bringing in a full theming support, not only for the themes that we support on Microsoft, which would be dark, light, Teams light, but for any type of application that you can bring your own theme and really render the chat components so they look very similar to the rest of the look and feel of your application. So that's our general availability. That will create the first V1 of these components as part of the toolkit. Afterwards, we have tons of top of minds. We want to be able to provide reactions. So you can thumbs up, you can thumbs down, you can like, you can love, you can laugh, you can be angry at stuff. We want to bring read receipts, so you know when somebody really read the message or not. We want to bring a chat list component that is controlled, so you can maybe have a list of active tickets that a support agent might want to see and go back and forth in these conversations. The ability to pin and unpin messages, the now typing indicator. I want to be able to provide sending rich messages, images, text formatting as part of the component, sharing files, right? That would be great. To be able to share files directly from your OneDrive. We have components in the in MGD that provides that, so we're just gonna embed them. Channel conversations. I saw a question earlier around channel conversation. It's something that is top of mind Right now, absolutely, the capabilities might be a little bit different because what we support in one-on-one chat and group chats and what we support in channel conversations is a little bit different, but still something we think about it. Now, in the even more long term, we really would love to get to a point where we can have some of these really great capabilities of, for example, having a meet now and elevate a chat to a video conversation, to a phone conversation, supporting voice and video, maybe even screen sharing, and a ton more. So we'd love to hear you. We'd love to see where you guys think we should be going in the future with the chat components. I have a slide here with all our resources. We'd love you to come in our repo, aka.ms/mgt, and create issues. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what are the scenarios that you're thinking about. We'll really love to dig deeper in those so we ensure that we're building what the community needs in terms of collaboration with chat resources. So all of our resources are here: docs, issues, samples, our playground, our learn modules are in there.